Did we do the stomach, Lamai? Ashwita, Evindi, Mayumdi, Metna, Rashmika, Savinu, Tinura, Yashoda. Were you all there last week? Stomach we did, but only up to a little bit, no? Api karala tiyana va. We talked about the gastric juice, right? We talked about hydrochloric acid. Khaim, all right.
Teacher, we did half of stomach.
Yes.
Like we didn't fully finish the
Yeah.
stomach.
Okay. So we also talked about what are the constituents of chyme. Okay, great. I think after chyme, as you all said, that's where we finished. So let me get the next part of the note to the whiteboard. All right. Okay. All right. So, Ma, the video Kata Bhanatva will start right away because we started the class a little late and we'll quickly finish. The goal is today to finish digestion and start respiration. I don't think we'll be able to finish respiration, but we'll at least start and do half of it. Okay. So, what is absorbed in the stomach? So, we did up to chyme, right? We said that there's hydrochloric acid, there's pepsin. In infants only, there's resin. And we said at the end of the digestion, we have digested and undigested carbohydrates, partially digested proteins, and undigested lipids. What else do we have? Vitamins, we have water, right? So all these minerals, we have all of these in the chyme. So what is absorbed? Then samana lamai, all the nutrients are not usually absorbed in the stomach. Digestion part එක වෙනවා digest වුණාට පස්සේ nutrients ටික body එකට absorb කරගන්න එපා. That part usually doesn't happen in the stomach. That happens in the small intestine, which is the next stage. හැබැයි පොඩි දේවල් ටිකක් විතරක් stomach එකේ absorb වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ stomach wall එකෙන් body එකට absorb කරගන්නවා. So what are those? Some water, a little bit of water will be absorbed. Glucose, some of the glucose, not all. And some drugs. So some of the chemical, like drugs are mostly different chemicals. So they are absorbed. Drugs are not necessarily all the bad drugs, you know. There are medicinal drugs too. So some of them may be absorbed in the stomach. Okay. So these are the things absorbed. These are the things absorbed in the stomach. හැබැයි ළමයි මතක තියාගන්න absorption වෙන main site එක stomach නෙවෙයි. All right. In the stomach, pepsin turns proteins to polypeptides. Trypsin is something we are going to learn a little later. But they both have the same function, but they are from two different places. All right. Then, okay, what is hunger? So hunger means now food stays in stomach for about 3 hours. Generally, සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපේ stomach එකේ කැම තියෙනවා for 3 hours, right? And even now, so when you know now, I told you in the esophagus, we talked about these peristaltic contractions and relaxations, right? The same peristaltic contractions and relaxation also happens in the stomach. හරිද? එතකොට then හැමලේම contraction and relaxation වෙද්දී when there is food in the stomach, no problem. Because all these contractions and relaxations are constantly moving and like food is always moving and all that. But after 3 hours, that food will no longer be in the stomach. හැබැයි අර contractions and relaxations, peristalsis will continue to happen. Sometimes even without food, it will happen. Even when the stomach is empty, it continues to contract using peristalsis. When it is empty for a long period of time, rate of contraction is also high and it causes a pain. For 3 hours, food is in there and it's a contraction because food is in there, so food is being mixed and all that. But after 3 hours, food is not there, but the contractions will still happen. So ටිකක් වෙලා එක කමක් නැහැ. හැබැයි ගොඩාක් වෙලා empty වෙලා තියෙනකොට contractions rate එක වැඩි වෙනවා. So more and more contractions will happen. Faster rate. And that will cause a pain. If I keep moving my hand like this for the first few minutes, it's okay. But ගොඩාක් වෙලා මෙහෙම පෑ ගන්න මෙහෙම කරන් ඉන්නොත් my muscles hurt a lot. ඒ වගේ stomach wall එකේ muscles උත් constantly move වෙන හින්දා එතකොට යාට pain එකක් එනවා. So that pain is what we call hunger. Right? බඩ රිදෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ that's this pain. Is that clear to all of you, ළමයි? All right. Then small intestine. So small intestine is about 7 meters long. Do you have an idea about how long 1 meter is? Have you seen a meter ruler?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have seen a meter ruler. 1 meter is just 100 centimeters. So meter ruler එකක් වගේ 7ක් imagine කරන්න how long that would be. A meter ruler is 100 centimeters. So 7 of that means 700 centimeters would be 7 meters. So we can imagine how long that is, right? So small intestine is pretty long. It's 7 meters long. So that's quite a considerable length. Okay. So something that is 7 meters long, how does it stay within our little body? Okay, so I mean, if you take after the stomach, there's only a little space remaining for the small intestine. A choti space the 7-meter long tube that is our next question. But actually, this small intestine is all entangled. Right? That's how it, even though it's so long, it can stay in that tiny space because it's so entangled. Right? It's very like in monada pequena noor bola kage. So I will show you a picture of a small intestine. A real picture. So just to give you an idea, body see, can you all see this picture, Amai?
Yes, teacher.
All right. So balanna make now you can get an understanding about your body, right? So me this is where usually the chest area is. Abdomen area. So it's a body compare stomach so that's quite high, right? That's quite high. Chest stomach. So අපි බඩ කියලා generally අල්ලන්නේ like let's say my tummy කියලා අපි අල්ලන්නේ and also around the belly button. This area is actually the small intestine. This is small intestine and it is all entangled. So if I show you another picture, this is another picture that is still being uploaded. මේ බලන්න එතිල තමයි තියෙන්නේ මේ. Full එතිල තමයි තියෙන්නේ small intestine එක. And I will show you another somewhat of a real picture, which might be a little gross. Let me see. ඉස්සර අපේ lab එකේ තිබ්බා මේ small intestine picture. Picture නෙවෙයි, sorry, a real sample in a bottle. One second. Something like this. පොඩක් home වගේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ, but that's not very clear actually. You can search a little more on Google. You'll be able to see more, I guess. Something like this, maybe. One second. For a realistic picture, I could not tepe. Manta pictures hamuna togan tevan nang, but yeah. So something like this, something quite like this. ඔයගේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ. එතිල 7 meters ම කොහමරි තියෙනවා. Okay. So එතකොට so okay, let's move on to the rest of it, right? Now what happens in the small intestine? Okay, so I have a question. How about the length in a child? So අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ගත්තොත් එහෙම අලුතෙන්ම newborn.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, Ashwita. Hello.
Teacher, you told that you're giving that MCQ, that quiz
Yeah,
marks.
quiz answer. One second. මා answers ටික උගන්ගේ ලකුණු නම් යවන්න පුළුවන් discussion එකට වෙලාව තිබ්බොත් අද කරමු, otherwise we'll do it on a different day. But marks are now.
You
I
didn't
just
send marks also, teacher.
I'll send it. I'll send it. The marks are, I have the Excel sheet with me right now. I'll send. Okay, so about the question, how about the length in a child? So that's a very good question. Samanne newborn baby genegena, I think it would be around 2 to 3 meters wage. Because I mean, ipadicha gamane, so it wouldn't be like 6-7 meters in a newborn child. So alute bane ipadicha gamamunat, it's quite long, right? 2 meters, 3 meters is quite a big length. So මට හරියට ස්පෙસિෆිකලිම කියන්න බෑ. කොහොමත් ස්පෙસિෆික් නම්බර් එකක් නෑ. මොකද එක එක ළමයාගේ ළමයාට මනුස්සයාගේ මනුස්සයාට වෙනස් වෙනවා. But generally, as far as I remember, it's around 2 to 3 meters in a newborn baby. හැබැයි ටිකක් ලොකු වෙනකොට නිකන් ඔය young infant to like, let's say 10 years, 10, 11, 12 වගේ වෙද්දි තමයි නිකං 4 meters, 5 meters, එමෙම grow වෙනවා. As the body is growing, the length of the small intestine is also growing. I think around like සාමාන්‍ය teenage වගේ කාලෙට එද්දි 6-7 meters වලට හැදෙනවා. Right? So the newborn ගෙනගේ තියෙනවා 2 meters, 3 meters. Between that, I can't remember the exact value, but I also don't think the exact value is on the internet either. Because as I said, from child to child, it can vary. But I'm pretty sure it's within the range of 2 to 3 meters. Okay. So, yeah. So that's a very good question. Okay. So, now, when we are talking about the small intestine, we are going to be talking about two parts. Small intestine does two functions. එකක් තමයි digestion continue කරනවා. Digestion happened in the buccal cavity also, right? Buccal cavity is where digestion started. Mechanical digestion happened with the tongue and all. ළමයි stomach වල ලිව්වද about mechanical digestion? Esophagus එකේ, sorry, stomach එකේ, did we write anything about mechanical digestion? No? Can somebody quickly check and let me know? Note එක පෙරලා බලන්න ළමයි. All right, okay. We have not. අපි චුට්ටක් එක දාගමුද ළමයි? What are the constituents of the kind කියලා අපි පාට එකක් තිබ්බ නේද අපේ note එකේ? It's quite important. ඒකට කලින් තමයි දාන්න ඕනේ. මෙන්න මේ තැන. I shall put this. We did. කරාද නැද්ද? I'm getting different answers from y'all. So confusing. Yeah, chemical digestion is there. Because now, මෙන්න මෙමය කරන්න ඕනේ. Go to this part in the stomach. What are found in gastric juice කියන part එකට යන්න. ගිහිල්ලා දැන් hydrochloric acid activates pepsin. Pepsin converts proteins to polypeptides. Renin in infants does the coagulation of milk. මේවා ඇවිල්ලා chemical digestion. So put a curvy bracket and write chemical digestion because they are using chemicals, enzymes. But mechanical digestion can be physically breaking the food, right? So there's a mechanical digestion part too. Mechanical digestion එක කරන්නේ කවුද? Peristalsis වලින්. Peristalsis breaks food down into smaller particles. Done by peristalsis. Quickly write that. All right, Lamai. So I just wanted to add that because at the very beginning also we talked about mechanical digestion and chemical digestion both. So may mama quiz results sheet එක බලලා හිටියේ which Miss Divya just shared with me. මේකේ මේ මට ඔක්කොම හරි එදා හිටියා යශෝදා හිටියා විහාන් තිනුර මෙත්නා අශ්විතා මයුම්දි සවිනු මෙත්මි මිහේලි රිසින්දි තමයි මාක් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. එක්කෙනෙක්ගේ නම මාක් වෙලා නැහැ. guest කියලා තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඕගලන්ගෙන් කවුරු හරි එදා quiz එකට හිද්දලා මම දැන් නම කිව්වේ නැද්ද? මම නම් ටික කියන්නද රිසර්ච් තියෙන කට්ටිය යශෝදා විහාන් තිනුර මෙත්නා අශ්විතා මයුම්දි සවිනු මෙත්මි මිහේලි රිසින්දි. Who else was there that I didn't tell the name? Rashmika, you were there, no? Right. එහෙනම් ඔයා quiz එක fill කරලා දැම්ම නේද? You submitted, no? All right, then it's probably you. Okay, no problem. So I will only tell the top mark. Top 100 out of 100. 100 can oh, 15 questions done. So out of 15 only we got the mark. But out of 15, I got it as out of 100. So Mitna has the highest marks. Good. All questions are correct. So congrats, Mitna. Others also are pretty good. Pretty good. Keeper denek chota padan kala tibunna hai. I'm not going to judge. No, don't worry. Like, I'm not going to judge at all. The only thing is that I would only ask you all to study a bit more. It was not a surprise quiz. Sometimes I'm planning to do surprise quizzes also. But this is something that I already told you and I asked you to prepare. So, එතකොට ඒකත් එක්ක බලද්දි සමහර results මම එච්චර satisfied නැහැ. But I mean, as I said, there's no judgment. I know that ඔගලා හැමෝටම කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔගලන් පාඩම් කරන්න නැති හරි කම්මැලිකම ඒකනේ තියෙන්නේ. And I know for a fact, because I have been dealing with students like you for 6 and almost 7 years now. So I know I can like identify and sort of understand your potential. So මම දන්න ඔයාලට කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. Even for the quiz, there are some performances which are not good. And I know that is only because you did not give the time to study properly. Because if you did give the time to study properly, I know for a fact, for sure, that you will get good marks. So ඊළඟ පාර මම surprise quiz එකක් දෙන්න කලින් I will give you I will let you know beforehand. I will give you a notice. So for the next quiz, I would really prefer if you study well. And also then quizzes ගැන අපිට familiar නේ. දැන් අපි දන්නවා කොහොමද වැඩේ වෙන්නේ කියලා. ඒක හින්දා please ඒක කිව්වමවත් ඒකට ඒ වචනටවත් පොඩ්ඩක් බලාගෙන එන්න. Because I mean, it was just living tissues and photosynthesis. There was nothing much to study. So, yeah. So, I think top marks the Metna. Then this is Rashmika is second. Because that's the name I didn't have. So I was wondering who that was. So Rashmika, okay. Third marks වලට දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්නවා. එක්කෙනෙක් Ashrita, the other one is Methmi. Others also marks are pretty good. Keep it chutta kadui, but that is only because you were not prepared well. But marks are pretty good. හැමෝටම වගේ 10 වලට වඩා වැඩියෙන් තියෙනවා. But let's see, next time please do study better. Okay, so I told you, right, mama nikang just as an activity sort of, I thought of selecting like the top 3 students of every month, and that doesn't just depend on the quiz results, right? Next week at next week ma passe kiya na kohomari quiz results vitarak neme, your attendance, how you are interacting during the class, all of that I'm considering, right? But please perform well in quizzes, because take it as an opportunity, as I said. quiz එකක් කිව්වම මං කිව්වේ ඒක දිහා දෙගොල්ලක් දෙවිදියකට බලනවා. So when I say, okay, ළමයි, next week you are going to have a quiz, set එකක් බලනවා. අපෝ quiz එකක් ආයේ පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ. නෑ මම පොත බලලා ටට්ටක් දාලා answers ටික type කරන්න තියෙන්නේ පොතෙන්. එහෙම කියලා ඒක අර negative විදියට බලන set එකක් ඉන්නවා. Then there's another set, okay, quiz එකක්. It's just those 2 lessons. Maybe මේක මම chance එකක් කරගන්න ඒ lessons එක revise කරගන්න කියලා එහෙම බලන set එකකුත් තියෙනවා. So I really want you to become the category 2. If I asked you, okay, study everything in grade 11 and come, that would be, let's say, a little bit more pressure, because then you have a lot to study. But I didn't do that. I just asked you to study first and second lessons. And I mean, let's all admit, photosynthesis, එක දවසෙන් පාඩම් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක experiments ටික විතරයි පාඩම් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. Living tissues also ගොඩක් ලොකු දෙයක් නෑනේ. ගොඩක් ලොකු දෙයක් තියෙනවා කියලා කාටවත් කියන්න බෑ. There's actually nothing much to study. It's not a very bulky lesson. So එතකොට ඒ දෙක පාඩම් කරන්න කිව්වම you should have taken that as okay, good. Take that as a sign, and you should have studied it. Okay. So next quiz is going to be about mixtures. And ළමයි තව දෙයක් තමයි, I really hate to tell you this. But next week we are going to have the class. I know next week is Vesak Poya, and I know you guys want to do Dansal and all. Actually, I was also planning to do Dansal next week, and I was planning to give you holiday. But 6 වෙනිදාට මට උගන්ට holiday එකක් දෙන්න වෙනවා. මොකද 6 වෙනිදා මට class එක කරන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ජූන් 6 වෙනිදා. ඒතර 6 වෙනිදාත් මිස් වෙන හින්දා next week මට කරන්න වෙනවා class එක. Are you all okay with that? Are you all okay with doing the class next week? Yes. ඕගොල්ලන්ට මොකද දන්සල් ප්‍රශ්න I know that you all කියන්නේ ගොඩක් අය දන්සල් යනවා කියලා මම සාමාන්‍යයෙන් වෙලාව තිබ්බොත් යනවා මේ පාර මම හිතුවම යනවා අනිවාර්යෙන් කියලා but පස්සේ තමයි මම දැක්කේ Saturday එකක් කියලා. But anyways, then I discussed with my team and we thought වෙසක් ටිකක් මේන් පොයක් හින්දා එකට හොලිඩේ එකක් දුන්නොත් හොඳයි කියලා. But just because 6th class එක කරන්න වෙන හින්දා I'm really sorry. But try to do the dancel before 7 and shape එකේ 4 class එකට ආව නම් හරි. එහෙම නැත්නම් I can start the class a little late if you want to. Or I can finish the class a little early next week. As a little like මොකද අපි කියන්නේ පොඩ්ඩක් lenient වෙන්න ඕනේ හින්දා ඕගලන් කැමති class එක පරක් වෙලා පටන් ගන්නවටද කලින් ඉවර වෙනවටද? එහෙම එකක් අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් for next week. Usually මම පොයට class නිවාඩු දෙන්නේ නැහැ because every month පොයක් තියෙනවානේ.
Start it late.
Start late. Are you sure? Finishing early wouldn't but finishing early කියන්නේ ඉතින් ඒත් ඉතින් රෑ වෙනවනේ.
Or teacher, shall we have the class in the morning?
I don't think that works because that doesn't work for many. Saturday it's a weekend no, so it's difficult to coordinate classes in the morning because Saturday, Sunday are usually the class dates for people. So let's see, I will put a poll on, I'll ask Miss Divya to put a poll in the group. So you guys vote for whatever you prefer or if you would like to have the full class. We'll see. We'll see about that. But I'm very sorry that I have to do the class next week. But 6th will be a holiday for you. Okay, ඒතර ඔයගලන්ට මොන හරි දේවල් plan කරගන්න තියෙනවා නම් 6 වෙනිදා හවස plan කරගන්න Saturday. හරි. So okay. So we were in small intestine. Small intestine එකේ main functions දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් digestion. So you know digestion has been happening in the buccal cavity also. Buccal cavity එකේ mechanical digestion කරා tongue එකයි jaws උයි teeth උයි ඒ ටික. Chemical digestion කරා salivary amylase converting starch to maltose. ඊළඟට esophagus එක ඇවිල්ලා stomach එකට ආවා. Stomach එකේ mechanical digestion කරා peristalsis වලින්. Chemical digestion kara hydrochloric acid, pepsin, and in infants it was renin. So and then there was a little bit of absorption also in the stomach, like glucose, some drugs, and also tamana the absorbune. Glucose, some drugs, and what else was absorbed in the stomach? Water, some water, yes. Glucose, some glucose, and some drugs. But ඒකේ ලොකු absorption එකක් නෑ හරිම චූටි, okay? Just a little bit only. Now we are coming to the small intestine. Small intestine has two main functions. Milk coagulation by renin එකක්, chemical digestion. That's only in infants. Because infants they mostly consume milk, right? They consume lots of milk. That's why the coagulation of milk must be done. But අපිට ඕන අපි එච්චර milk බොන්න and we consume so many different types of food. Small intestine වල digestion part එකට තමයි අපි දැන් මුලින්ම because that's a step number 1. So after digestion only we can talk about absorption part, right? So if we talk about digestion, now chyme, right? Chyme වල අපි කිව්වා again if we go through it, digested and undigested carbohydrates, partially digested proteins, undigested lipids, vitamins, minerals, water, ඒවා ටික තමයි chyme එකේ තිබ්බේ. Now that comes to the small intestine. So small intestine එකේ first it comes to the proximal part. Proximal part එක කියන්නේ මේ මූල ටික. Am I lagging? The Wi-Fi has signal. Am I still? 1 second, am I? Am I still lagging? Am I? Still lagging. 1 second.
Tisha, it was lagging before also, Tisha.
Okay. So how does it work now? I changed to my other Wi-Fi. I don't know. Slightly raining, but not much. I bet. Am I still lagging? Am I still lagging? Am I? What is it, Rashmika? I couldn't hear you. Now okay, no? Right. Okay, great.
Tisha, now okay, but your volume is low, I think. I can't hear you.
Let me check. Okay. I think now it's okay, no?
Now okay, Tisha.
All right. So now, okay, great. Thank you. I'm sorry for that. It's not actually raining much outside, so I don't know what actually caused it. You know how Wi-Fi works sometimes. Okay, anyways, so small intestine ke proximal part again, mulava part එක, right? So let me show you. මෙන්න මේ කොටස. So now from the stomach, small intestine එකට enter වෙද්දී මුලින්ම තියෙනවා මෙහෙම පොඩි curve එකක්. This curvature. මෙන්න මේක තමයි මුලම small intestine එකේ part එක. This part doesn't belong to the stomach ළමයි. After the මෙතනින් stomach එක ඉවරයි. Then comes this C-shaped part. That is the initial part or the proximal part of the small intestine. It's called the duodenum. Right? It's called the duodenum. Okay. So, chyme in the stomach is pushed into the proximal part of the small intestine. Proximal part of the small intestine is C-shaped. C-shaped. And it's called duodenum. Duodenum. Okay. What happens in the duodenum? Then duodenum එකේ ළමයි මෙන්න මෙහෙම ගහක කොලයක් වගේ organ එකක් තියෙනවා, that is the pancreas. Okay. So pancreas එක මෙන්න මෙතනින් connect වෙලා තියෙන්නේ duodenum එකට. Pancreas එක මෙහෙම connect වෙලා තියෙනවා. Then pancreas එකටම මෙන්න මෙතනින් connect වෙලා ඉන්න තව එක්කෙනෙක්. එයාට කියන්නේ gall bladder කියලා. එයා ඉන්නේ liver එක ඇතුලේ. All right. So duodenum එකට connect වෙලා තියෙනවා pancreas එක directly. Pancreas එකෙන් branch එකක් විදියට gallbladder is connected. Gallbladder is situated in the liver. All right. So now let's see what happens. Pancreas secretes pancreatic juice through the pancreatic duct. Then pancreas එක duodenum එකට connect වෙන තැනට අපි කියනවා pancreatic duct. The point where the pancreas connects to the duodenum, we call it the pancreatic duct. So pancreas secretes the secretion through the pancreatic duct. මොනවාද මේ secretion එකට අපි කියන්නේ pancreatic juice කියලා. And let's see what is there in this pancreatic juice. First enzyme is trypsin. Trypsin කියලා enzyme එකක් තියෙනවා. Let's see what trypsin does. Proteins are converted to polypeptides by trypsin. Now, this is the same as pepsin. No? Now, in the stomach, pepsin converted proteins to polypeptides. So, ඔයගලන්ට question එකක් එනවාද? Okay, so stomach එකේ proteins were converted to polypeptides, no? Pancreas එකේ, I mean, duodenum එකේ ඒකම වෙන්න ඕනේද කියලා you might wonder. Because it's the same thing, no? Two locations doesn't have to do the same thing. But actually, food only stays in the stomach for 3 hours. Now, when we take the food, there's a lot of proteins. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් අපි ගොඩක් කන්නේ carbohydrates නේ. එනවා අපි carbohydrate කන කෑම වලත් proteins පොඩ පොඩ තියෙනවා. And proteins are so important for our body. Just like carbohydrates and lipids, proteins are also very important. So, during the 3 hours that the food stays in the stomach, that 3 hours is not enough to digest all the proteins. එතකොට, some of the proteins will be converted to polypeptides in the stomach by pepsin, and whatever the remaining proteins will come to the small intestine where at duodenum, pancreatic juice is secreted. Pancreatic juice has trypsin. So whatever the remaining proteins will be converted to polypeptides by trypsin. Trypsin is the first enzyme. Second enzyme is amylase. Now, amylase was again initially there. කොයිද අපි amylase කතා කරේ initially? Salivary amylase. Saliva වල තිබ්බ හින්දා තමයි අපි salivary amylase කියලා කිව්වේ, but that is also amylase, just amylase. So, in the buccal cavity, in the mouth, what did amylase do? It converted some of the starch to maltose. But ළමයි කටේ කැම තියන් ඉන්නේ නැහැනේ වැඩි වෙලා. සමහර කට්ටිය නම් ටිකක් වෙලා හපනවා, but සමහර කට්ටිය හපන්නේ නැතුව ගිනිනවානේ. I mean, I know so many people who do that. That's not good, ළමයා. You have to chew food properly before eating or swallowing. I know some people that they just put the food into the mouth, tongue, swallow. එහෙම බෑ හොඳට හපන්න ඕනේ කැම කද්දී. එතකොට තමයි digest වෙන්නත් ලේසි. And if you don't like chew your food well, it can cause bloating. Because like third football chunks of food in the footballers will go through the esophagus. කැම ඉර වෙන්න නම් තියෙන chance එක වැඩි if you don't chew your food well. So you have to chew your food well. So it helps in the digestion, it helps in the swallowing, it helps in the moving of the footballers, everything. Anyways, now food stays in the mouth for a short period of time. So එතකොට ඔක්කොම starch ටික maltose කරන්න බෑ salivary amylase වලට. So that means more starch will be remaining. That remaining starch will be converted to maltose in the duodenum, which is small intestine, by amylase. Again, amylase is there. මෙයාට හැබැයි salivary amylase කියන්න එපා. Because saliva නෙමෙයි. It's just amylase. So we talked about trypsin, we talked about amylase. The last enzyme in the pancreatic juice is lipase. Lipase, lipids. ලේසි මතක තියාගන්න. So what does lipase do? Lipids are converted to fatty acids and glycerol. Because lipids are made of fatty acids and glycerol. අපි grade 10 first lesson ඉගෙන ගත්තානේ. Lipids are made of fatty acids and glycerol. So, lipase just converts lipids to fatty acids and glycerol. So, මේ තුන් දෙනා තමයි ළමයි ඉන්නේ අපේ pancreatic juice එකේ. So, pancreatic juice එක pancreas එකෙන් pancreatic duct එක through duodenum එකට add කරනවා. Up to that point, is it clear? Do you all have any questions? If you all have any questions, you can ask. No questions, no? Okay. So, Lamai, just something that, I mean, it's not in the note or in the textbook, but something that I thought you should know. Do you all think all bacteria are bad, or do you think there are good bacteria too? What are your thoughts? Because if you look around, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, you cannot see, but there's bacteria all over, all around you, all over you, everywhere. Yes. So sometimes certain bacteria can be harmful. Yes, some bacteria harmful utne, useful utne, just they just exist. But there are some useful bacteria too. Good lamaya. So I'm glad you have you don't have the misconception that all bacteria are bad, because there are good bacteria too. Attanma small intestine එකේ bacteria ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා. So they just there's like, I don't know, millions, billions, and trillions of microorganisms in the small intestine, especially. අපි ඒගොල්ලන්ට කියනවා A levels වල ඔයගොල්ලන් ඉගෙන ගනි science කරනවා නම් we call them gut microbiome, because that's like a separate population. වෙනම ecosystem එකක් වගේ. There are so many microorganisms, like they support in digestion, they support in like producing vitamins, and also like sometimes immunity දේවල් again to protect your body. ගොඩක්ම digestion වලට support කරන bacteria, right? So there's a lot of bacteria. So that's something quite important that it's better that you know, right? So in a Western province paper, it asks what used to turn protein to polypeptides. And both the answers, trypsin and pepsin, was there. In the mark sheet answer was trypsin. That's impossible. Are you sure the question said that? Market question එකේ වෙන part එකක් තිබුණේ නැද්ද? Just any enzyme that converts proteins to polypeptides? එහෙම question එකක්, yeah, MCQ තමයි, but did it say where or මොන හරි වෙන information තිබ්බද ඒ question එකේ? Or just that proteins to polypeptide කරන enzyme එකක්? මොකද එහෙම නිකම්ම just double check තිනුර, මොකද මං හිතන්නේ තව මොනවාරි තියෙන්නේ නැති ඒ question එකේ. Because otherwise it's a very stupid question. නිකම් proteins to polypeptides convert කරන enzyme එකක් ඇහුවම answer sheet يعني answers හතරේ trypsin and pepsin දෙකම තියෙන්න බෑනේ. ඒතර දෙකම හරි answers. Pepsin also converts proteins to polypeptides. Trypsin also converts proteins to polypeptides. Pepsin stomach එකේ, trypsin small intestine එකේ, they are both equally important. Just double check, and can you let us know next week so that we could discuss that question. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is about the pancreatic juice secreted by the pancreas. Then pancreatic duct එකත් එක්කම connect වෙලා තව කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා කියලා මම කිව්වේ මෙන්න මෙතන. Use some word. මේ වань මෙතන මෙන්න මේකට connect වෙලා, හැබැයි ආ pancreas එක නෙවෙයි. It goes to gallbladder. Gallbladder is inside the liver. So what does it do? So there is something called my bile. Bile කියලා කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. Bile is produced by the liver and stored in the gallbladder. This is very important. MCQs වල අහනවා where is bile stored කියලා. Answer කර liver, gallbladder දෙකම දෙනවා. So you have to underline gallbladder, because bile is not stored in liver. Bile is produced in liver and stored in gallbladder. Because gallbladder එක තියෙන liver එක ඇතුළේනේ. liver එකේ හැදිලා gallbladder එකේ store වෙලා pancreatic juice එක යනකොට pancreas එකෙන් gallbladder එකෙන් bile ලැබෙනවා. එයාව duodenum එකට secrete වෙනවා. It is secreted into the duodenum by the bile duct. Bile duct කියලා කියන්නේ මෙන්න මෙතනින් bile duct එක, but එයා pancreatic duct එක through ම තමයි යන්නේ. So let's see what it does. Bile contains bile pigments, bile salts, bicarbonate ions, and water. Just different constituents. Bile pigments කියලා තියෙනවා, bile salts තියෙනවා, bicarbonate ions තියෙනවා, and water තියෙනවා. Let's move on to the next part of the note. එතන තමයි තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද bile වල function එක කියලා. Okay. So what is the function of bile? Bile වල තියෙන්නේ bile pigments, bile salts, bicarbonate ions and water. What are the functions? There's one main function, that is emulsification of lipids in food. Emulsification of lipids. This is breaking down of lipids in food into small droplets. Increases the surface area. ඒ කියන්නේ ළමයි දැන් ඇත්තට මෙහෙමයි කතන්දරේ. Lipids digest කරන enzyme එක මොකද්ද කියන්න බලන්න මට. Were there any enzyme? Okay. Okay. First, I'll ask question by question. First question. Okay. First question. Are there any enzymes in the stomach digesting lipids? All right. So, yes, what are the answers I got? No, no. Tinurai Mayundi Vitrai Danita Mukutakian. Do you think are there any enzymes digesting lipids in the stomach?
No.
No. Okay, Metna. Okay, Rashmika, Ashwita. All right. Because Miheli, yes. Stomach ke kape khata kar pe wala lipids were not digested. Then in the small intestine, are there any enzymes digesting lipids? Okay, Mayundi. Others, what do you all think? In the small intestine, are there any enzymes digesting lipids? Okay, Vindi. Okay, Metna. Vindi, weren't you there for the quiz? Okay, all right. Okay, Lamai. Okay, Tinura. So you can just look a little above. Oh, see here. In the small intestine, there is lipase, right? What an again small intestine tamai. Lipase digests lipids to fatty acids and glycerol. So that is an enzyme digesting lipids. So small intestine එකේ lipids digest කරන enzyme එකක් තියෙනවා. So it's a yes. Okay? But there is a little bit of a problem. Then මෙන්න මෙහෙම, I mean, do you remember rate of reaction we learned in grade 10 ළමයි? Do you all remember rate of reaction we learned in grade 10? Yes or no? I won't ask any questions. It's just a yes or no question that I'm asking. Mama lesson එකෙන් ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ නැහැ, don't worry. Yeah. So we talked about one
Yes,
factor.
we will have.
Yes, we talked about one of the factors affecting the rate of reaction, that is surface area of reactants. So ඒ වගේ දෙයක් තමයි මෙතන තියෙන්නේ. Now if you take lipids ගත්තොත් lipids තියෙන මේ වගේ droplets. අපි කන කෑම වල තියෙන lipids, even though they are like broken down into smaller particles, they are still like these lipid droplets. So na අපේ lipase නේ lipids digest කරන්නේ. So lipase enzyme එක ඇවිල්ලා මෙන්න මෙයාව digest කරනවා, converting it to fatty acids and glycerol. This is instance A. And my green වලින් මම පෙන්නලා තියෙන lipase. The second instance is this large lipid droplet එක එහෙම ලොකු droplet එකක් වගේ තියන්න නැතුව same lipid droplet or same lipid drop and breaking into smaller droplets. එකම drop ලොකු drop එක තමයි මම පොඩි droplets වලට break කරන්නේ. Now again lipase comes, acts on these like this. So let's call this instance B. Okay, so do you think in which instance will the digestion be faster? In which instance will the digestion of lipids be faster? Okay, Mayumdi.
In instance B.
Okay, Ashwita. Okay, Miheli. Okay, Tinura. Okay, Metna. Others? Yes, it's instance B. Why is it instance B? ඒවල තියෙන surface area එක අඩුයි. හැබැයි එයාව කැලි වලට කැඩුවම lipase වලට වැඩ කරන surface area එක වැඩි. Just like what we learned in grade 10 rate of reaction. When the surface area increases, the rate of reaction increases. Surface area වැඩි වෙන්න, we have to break the particle size. Calcium carbonate granules තියෙනට වඩා powder තියෙන එක ලේසි. For certain reactions like that. So එතකොට මේ ලොකු droplet එක චූටි droplets වලට කඩන වැඩේ තමයි bile කරන්නේ. So bile is important for lipase to do the digestion. What bile does is big lipid droplets are broken down to smaller lipid droplets. Then lipase can come and do the digestion so that these lipids will be converted to fatty acids and glycerol. So bile is doing something very important. So මෙන්න මේකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ emulsification. Is this clear, lamai? All right, others? Yes, Metna.
Teacher.
Okay, yes, Metna, that is how it happens. ඒ කියන්නේ මෙහෙම ඇත්තටම ඕක ලොකුවට order එකක් යන්නේ because it's quite fast. So both lipase and bile are secreted at the same time. හැබැයි bile තමයි මුලින්ම වැඩේ පටන් ගන්න. මොකද emulsification කරොත් තමයි lipase වලට ලේසි. So technically your answer is correct. That's correct. So but again time wise අපිට ලොකු difference එකක් එන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද both happen fast, they are both more or less secreted at the same time. හැබැයි අපි මාරම milliseconds වලට බැලුවොත් bile තමයි මුලින්ම ඔක්කොම lipid droplets ටික break කරන්නේ. මොකද නැත්තම් lipase වලට හරිම slow වෙනවා. ඒ අතරේ lipase උත් පොඩ කියන්නේ තියෙන lipids ටික යා digest කරන්න පටන් ගන්නවා, but then bile will quickly break it down. So මුලින්ම bile තමයි වැඩේ කරන්නේ, ඊට පස්සේ තමයි lipase යාගේ වැඩේ කරන්නේ. Correct. Good question. All right. Then What is the rest of the digestion occurring in the small intestine? Hari, then we were only talking about duodenum lamaya. Me duodenum එක විතරයිනේ. This part is only about duodenum. මේල duodenum එක විතරයි තාම අපි කතා කරේ. But duodenum විතරක් නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ. So if you look at this picture, මේක textbook එකේ තියෙන picture එකක් නෙවෙයි. So මේ small intestine එකේ initial ම C part එකනේ duodenum. Then මැද part එකක් තියෙනවා jejunum. Then අග part එකක් තියෙනවා ileum. Okay? So මේ terms ටික ඔයගලන්ට ඉගෙන ගන්න නැහැ. These terms are not there for you. You only have duodenum. Okay? I think ileum තිබ්බද කියලා නෑ ඒක තිබුණේ නෑනේ. So only duodenum was there. But it's not just duodenum. There's a lot of like තව 7 meters or any තව ගොඩාක් දුර තියෙනවා for the small intestine to still do its work. So duodenum is not the only place where digestion happens. So this is only part of the digestion. මොකද අපි මෙතන කතා කරේ pancreas is there, pancreatic juice එක secrete කරා, trypsin, amylase, lipase. Trypsin converts proteins to polypeptides, amylase converts starch to maltose, lipase converts lipids to fatty acids and glycerol. ඊට අමතරව liver එකේ produce වෙලා gallbladder එකේ store වෙනවා bile. Bile comes and does the emulsification where it breaks down large lipid droplets to smaller droplets so that lipase can do its work faster. ඊට පස්සේ ඊට අමතරව තව digestion තියෙනවා small intestine එකේ. There is another set of enzymes secreted by the wall of the intestine. අරක වෙන්නේ duodenum එකේ විතරයි. තව ගොඩාක් දුර තියෙනවනේ small intestine එක. ඒ තියෙනකොට small intestine එකේ wall එකේ secrete කරනවා intestinal juice. Pancreas එකේ secrete කරපු කෙනාට we called it the pancreatic juice. Wall of the intestine එකෙන් secrete කරන කෙනාට we call it the intestinal juice. Alright. එතන තියෙනවා 4 enzymes. First one, maltase. Balanna, now earlier starch was converted to maltose, right? Now that maltose will be converted, because you know lamai, in grade 10 first lesson, api igana gatta, maltose hadene komada glucose plus glucose, tamai maltose hadene. Ena maltose කැඩෙනකොට කැඩෙන්නේ glucose plus glucose. Glucose plus glucose means just glucose, right? So maltose will be broken down to glucose by maltase. Then අපි තව කන කෑමවල තියෙනවානේ sucrose. So there's an enzyme called sucrase converting the sucrose in the food that we eat to glucose and fructose. Again, grade 10 first lesson we learned sucrose කොහොමද හැදෙන්නේ? Glucose plus fructose converts to sucrose. So when sucrose breaks down, it breaks down to glucose and fructose. So we brown sugar, cut the white sugar, cut the certain vegetables, which are a little more like sweet. Even in a kelimini sucrose, those sucrose will be converted to glucose and fructose by sucrase. Sucrase is the name of the enzyme. Then lactase. When we consume dairy food items, we consume lactose. Lactose is another disaccharide, right? Maltose, sucrose, lactose. Now we learned again grade 10 first lesson, lactose is made from glucose plus galactose. So lactose, when it's breaking down also, I had then a glucose plus galactose. That is done by lactase. Maltose to glucose by maltase. Sucrose to glucose plus fructose by sucrase. Lactose to glucose plus galactose by lactase. හරිද? So ඔන්න අපිට අන්තිමට මෙතන ඉතුරු වෙලා තියෙන මොනවාද? monosaccharides ටික. Glucose, here glucose and fructose, here glucose and galactose. Right? So these are all the monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are the simplest carbohydrates. Api khana carbohydrates cannot be digested further. Okay, carbohydrates wala simplest digestive product එක තමයි monosaccharides. Is that clear? Carbohydrates simplest digested product is monosaccharide. Okay. ඔන්න අපිට ඒක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. Right? So මීට මෙතන ගියා තව carbohydrates digest කරන්න බෑ. All right. Now then බලන්න මෙතන ළමයි pancreas එකෙන් lipase secrete වුණානේ. එයා lipids convert කරා කෙලින්ම fatty acids and glycerol. මේ ඇවිල්ලා lipids වෙලත් digested product එක. Lipids can only be broken down to fatty acids and glycerol. ඊට වඩා යාව කඩන්නත් බෑ. ඒක මට ඒ වෙලේ කියන්න අමතකුණා. අපි පස්සේ මේක ලියනවා වෙනම but simplest digested product. ඒක clear ද ළමයි? Others? Okay. Then hari carbohydrates uthari, lipids uthari, but proteins. In the stomach, pepsin converted proteins to polypeptides. In the duodenum also, trypsin converts protein to polypeptides. Polypeptides can be simplest protein product එක නෙවෙයි. Because we know proteins are made up of amino acids. Amino acids are the simplest protein product. තාම polypeptides අපිට තියෙනවා. දැන් අපි intestinal juice එක ගැන කතා කර හිටියේ. So there was maltase, sucrase, lactase. In addition to that, we have peptidase. Peptidase මොකද කරන්නේ? අර ඔක්කොම pepsin convert කරපු polypeptides ටිකයි, trypsin convert කරපු polypeptides ටිකයි, ඔක්කොම polypeptides ටික amino acids වලට convert කරනවා peptidase. So these four enzymes are found in intestinal juice. Maltase, sucrase, lactase, peptidase. Basic unit of protein is amino acids. Yes, correct. ඔන්න එහෙනම් අපිට amino acids උත් ආවා. Amino acids are the simplest digested product in proteins. එහෙනම් හරිනේ අපිටනේ because you know vitamins minerals are digest වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Water digest වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ, vitamins minerals digest වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ, drugs වගේව digest වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. So mostly carbohydrates, proteins, lipids තමයි අපිට issue එක වෙලා තිබේ because they were bulky molecules. හරිම complex molecules, carbohydrates, proteins and lipids. Okay? But on බලන්න what are the end products of digestion? Carbohydrates වලින් monosaccharides ආව, proteins වලින් amino acids ආව, lipids වලින් fatty acids ආව. So digestion part is done and dusted. Is that clear? Methanic ehaters digestive system එකේ there is no digestion. After this there is only absorption. Digest වෙච්ච ඒවා දැන් absorb කරගන්නත් එපා body එකේ. මොකද කෙලින්ම like if it stays in the digestive system for long time ඕක අන්තිමට ගිහලා feces විදියට body එකෙන් එළියට යනවා. එතකොට අපරාධනේ මේ nutrients ටික glucose, fructose, galactose, amino acids, fatty acids, glycerol, they are all important nutrients. ඒවා ටික ටක් ගාලා body එකෙන් ගන්න ඕනේ. Okay. All right. Can you all take a different piece of paper? ඒක ඔයගලන්ට පුළුවන් මේකට attach කරගන්න, staple කරගන්න, අලව ගන්න or do something like that. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයගලා writing book එකේ මේක ලිව්වත් කමක් නැහැ. But when you're studying this lesson, I want you to go through it. So let's do a little bit of a discussion. Now, මේ වගේ question එකක් අහලා නැහැ දැනට past papers වල. Sticky note එකක් සමහර විටියට ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. But carbohydrates, proteins, lipids තුනම ගැන කතා කරනවා. So sticky note එක ඉඩ ඇති වේද දන්නේ නැහැ. But I mean, you can use 1 or 2 sticky notes. I think that would be okay. So මම මේක last batch එකට දුන්නා but last exam එකේ ඇහුවේ නැහැ. මේ වගේ question එකක් එහෙම comprehensive විදියට ලොකුවට අහලා නැහැ O level past papers වල. So I think it's a potential question that they could ask in the future. Maybe for your batch. Maybe ඔයගොල්ලෝ batch එකට එන්නේ නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. But එන්නත් පුළුවන්නේ. So let's just be prepared. So අපි digestion ගැන මුලින් කතා කරොත්, right? Absorption ගැන අපි පස්සේ කතා කරමු once we're done talking about that, right? Digestion part එක focus කරොත්. Mainly we have three types of nutrients. Because vitamins, minerals, water, there's not much of a digestion there. But carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids, we are talking about their digestion, right? So carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, main. Then carbohydrates වල digestion pathway එක මොකක්ද? So සමහර විට they can ask you like write a short note on නිකන් මොකක් හරි පොඩි simple විදියට carbohydrates වල මොනවද වෙන්නේ කියලා කියන්න, like maybe briefly describe. එහෙම අහන්න පුළුවන්. So carbohydrates වල digestion pathway එක පටන් ගන්නවා buccal cavity එකේදී. Right? So starts in the mouth itself. Carbohydrates. Buccal cavity is the first location. What happens? Starch is converted to amylase by salivary amylase. Okay. Then esophagus then comes to the stomach. Stomach again, anything happens to the carbohydrates, Naman? Anything happens to the carbohydrates in chemical digestion in stomach? No, there's nothing happening. Ne? In a stomach එක අපිට ඕනේ නැහැ. Then small intestine එකේ anything happening to carbohydrates? Small intestine එකේ anything happening to carbohydrates? Yeah, what is happening? Yes, correct. මුලින්ම අපිට තියෙනවා pancreatic juice එකේ pancreatic juice එකේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? Starch is, my god, I did a mistake here, no? Maltose. Starch is again converted to maltose by amylase. We don't call it salivary amylase because now it's not saliva. We just call it amylase. So that happens by pancreatic juice. ඊළඟට intestinal juice එකෙන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? Carbohydrates are not always polysaccharides, no, disaccharides and monosaccharides are also carbohydrates. So maltose will be converted to glucose by maltase. Then sucrose will be converted to glucose plus fructose by sucrase. Lactose will be converted to glucose and galactose by lactase. So that is it. So we have the end products. What are our end products? Glucose, fructose, and galactose. So what are the enzymes involved? Here, salivary amylase in buccal cavity, amylase in pancreatic juice, maltase, sucrase, lactase in intestinal juice. Did you all understand that part, Lamai? Did you all understand that part?
Yes, teacher.
All right. Okay, can you all copy this down? And I want you to do now. Now, but Godak like I'll give you like 3-4 minutes again. Can you draw a pathway like this for proteins also? Start from the buccal cavity and check step by step. The protein digestion when. Itra proteins in amino acids venakang ekeka locations වල මේ වගේ කොහොමද වෙන්නේ කියලා you have to write. Copy this down first. I will first give you like 2 minutes to copy this down. I'll set a timer. Once it's over, මම proteins වලට වෙනම time එක දෙන්නම්. මුලින් මේක ලියලා ඉවර කරා. All right, Lamai. Now I will set a timer for 4 minutes. You have to write the same for proteins. Just 4 minutes. Make it fast. All right, Lamai. Did you all right for proteins? Do you all need more time? I could give you like 1 or 2 more minutes, but not more. Anybody who needs more time? Can you all hear me? Lamai, did you all write for proteins? Har. Tell me where this starts. Hmm? Yes. Correct. It starts in the stomach. Okay. Stomach. Okay. Gastric juice. What happens is proteins are converted to polypeptides by what enzyme? I got some answers in the chat box also. Others? Yes, pepsin. Then what's the next step? Duodenum, small intestine, duodenum. Yes, pancreatic juice. So duodenum make thamai secrete venne pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice ke thiyana? Yes, correct. Trypsin. So proteins, yes, correct, are converted to polypeptides by trypsin. Then correct. Small intestine again, but not the duodenum. From the walls of the small intestine, intestinal juice. Intestinal juice valla peptidase welling converts polypeptides to amino acids by peptidase. Okay, good. Others, everybody, I hope it's clear. Others also wrote this, hopefully. Shall we do the same to lipase? Again, I will set a timer for 4 minutes. 4 minutes on a way than a lipase. Sorry, lipids again I think but yeah, I'll set a timer for 4 minutes. Finish real fast. All right. Where does it start? Did you all write lipids? Can you all hear me? Correct. Starts in small intestine. Specifically in duodenum. Yes. I'm getting answers good, huh? Ekak tamai bile. Where it is converting, it is involved in emulsification of lipids. Bile can, if they ever ask you to write the flow chart or whatever for the digestion of lipids, bile you must mention. It's very important. Emulsification of lipids. මේකට විනාඩි 4 වැඩිත් එක්කනේ. Then in pancreatic juice, we have lipase, which converts lipids to fatty acids and glycerol. And glycerol by lipase. Is that clear to everybody, ළමයි? මේකට අපි තව section එකක් දාන්න ඕනේ absorption part එක. We will put that later on. Now we have to discuss the absorption part. All right. So let's go to step number 2, absorption. Absorption of digested end products mainly occurs in the small intestine. Because even though there is a little bit of absorption in the stomach, I told you it's not a lot. A very little bit of absorption in the stomach. So the rest of, almost the entire absorption happens in the small intestine. So it mainly occurs in the small intestine. Okay. So absorption means small intestine ke wall එකෙන් අර nutrients ටික absorb කරගන්නවා. For that, small intestine needs to have certain adaptations to increase the efficiency of absorption. Again, absorption වැඩි කරගන්න there needs to be certain adaptations. Okay, because එක nutrient එකක්වත් absorb කරන්න නැතුව ගියොත් අපරාධ feces එක එළියට යනවා නේද? So the small intestine එකේ ඔක්කොම nutrients ටික කොහොමද absorb කරගන්න ඕනේ? For that, the efficiency has to be at its best. So let's see what are these features. එකක් තමයි, it is a long tube. So ඒක අපි හොඳටම දන්නවා because you know small intestine is like 7 meters long. එතකොට first 2-3 meters වල absorb කරගන්න බැරි වුණත් ඒගොල්ලන් ඉස්සරහා කොහේ හරි absorb වෙයි because it's a very long tube, right? So there's plenty of time for all the nutrients to be absorbed because it's a long tube. All the food needs to travel in the small intestine for 7 meters. එතකොට කොහෙදී හරි ඔය ටික ඔක්කොම absorb වෙනවා. හොඳට වෙලාව තියෙනවානේ, right? It has circular folds in the inner wall. ඒ කියන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම එකක්. තවන small intestine එක තියෙනවා මෙහෙම. අපි දුමු small intestine එකේ දාමු. Small intestine is all entangled like this නේ. අපි දිගෑරියොත් එහෙම this is the small intestine. ඔන්නක දිගෑරියා මේ බටයක් නිකන් මේ වගේ. හරිද? මම මෙතනින් පොඩි කොටසක් අරන් zoom කරනවා. zoom කරනහම එයා ඇත්තටම ඉන්නේ මෙහෙම ඉරක් වගේ නෙවෙයි. එයා ඉන්නේ මෙහෙම folds හදලා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක කෙලින් ඉරක් විදියට නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ ඇත්තටම තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම. Something like this. like මෙහෙම folds විදිය තමයි තියෙන්නේ, not just like a straight line. Please give me a second. Na? Okay, Lama, I'm sorry. So these are circular folds, right? So ඇත්තටම it's not a straight line, it's like a curvy line. So මේවට අපි කියනවා circular folds. හරිද? So that is what they mean here. It has circular folds in the inner wall. Is that clear, Lama, up to that point? මම one by one යන්නේ. Okay. Then if you take this circular folds and you take this tiny little section, let's say මෙතන circular fold එකේ section එකක් මම ගන්න. ඒ section එක මම zoom කරාම there are more curves like මෙහෙම fold තවත් තියෙනවා. Right? මෙහෙම තවත් තියෙනවා එතන. So if I show it here, it looks something like this. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක circular folds මෙහෙම තිබ්බට එතනත් මෙහෙම පොඩි curves මෙහෙම තියෙනවා. Right? So these are called villi. Is that clear, lamai? Is that clear? Okay. Then mummy ekka vilas vilai is the plural, vilas is a singular. So if I take one vilas here, mete එකක් මම මෙහෙම අරගෙන zoom කරනවා. zoom කරාම දැන් මෙන්න මෙහෙම විලස් එක තියෙනවා. එයාගේ මෙහෙම මෙහෙම චූටි 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 කෙඳි 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 වගේ. So this is a vilas. මේ ඇවිල්ලා විලයි කියන එක තමයි මේ. එයාගේ චූටි 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 මෙන්න මෙහෙම 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 තියෙනවා. Little fibers kind of things. These are called microvilli. These are called microvilli. So circular folds, villi, microvilli, all these three things are there. So small intestine නිකම් මේ මිරක් නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ 7 meters උනත් is there. හිතන්න මෙහෙම කෙලින් 7 meters නෙවෙයිනේ. Curves, 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 curves ගොඩක්. So surface area is extremely high. It's not just 7 meters. So as I was saying, there is circular folds. There is finger-like projections called villi in the circular folds. Then it has microvilli, right? So there's a thin epithelial lining on villi. And මේ villi එක ගත්තාම මේ villi එකේ මේ lining එක හරිම thin lining එකක්. So whatever the nutrients can get absorbed to the inside. Okay? And villi are highly vascularized. ඒක මම පස්සේ කියා දෙන්න highly vascularized part එක. Just to show you villi and microvilli, I will get this picture to the whiteboard. මේ තියෙන villi දෙකක්. This is one villi, this is another villi. බලන්න මේ villi වල කොනේ චූටියට තියෙන එක zoom කරාම මේ තියෙන්නේ microvilli. So these are little microvilli. I hope that's clear, lamai, yeah? Give me a thumbs up if it's clear. All right. Then I'm putting another picture to the whiteboard. The whiteboard එක මම එවන්නම් group එකේ. එතකොට ඒකේ මට බලන්න පුළුවන්. Is this picture clear enough? Let me check. Textbook එකේ තියෙන අතන picture එකක් textbook එකේ ඉතින් උගන්නටත් බලන්න පුළුවන්. So I wanted to use something else. Shall we take this picture? බලන්න ළමයි මේ ඇවිල්ලා විලයි විලස් එකක්. විලයි කියන්නේ මේකට, right? So බලන්න here මේ විලයි එකේ මේ කොනේ තියෙන these are microvilli. These are microvilli and this big thing is villi. හරිද? එතකොට මේ තියෙන්නේ intestine එකේ wall එක. එතකොට මේ තියෙන්නේ intestine එක ඇතුළ. Inside small intestine. Inside small intestine තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. මෙතන තමයි food and nutrients යන්නේ මේ තියෙන wall එක. Wall එකේනේ මේ circular folds, villi, microvilli ඔක්කොම තියෙන්නේ. Did that structure make sense to you? This is the wall. Wall එකේනේ circular folds, villi, microvilli, all of that is in the wall. Then may I will inside the small intestine. What about others? Ashwita, Evindi, Mayumdi, Metna, Miheli, Savinu, Yashoda, Rashmika. Did that structure make sense to you? Okay. එතකොට ළමයි දැන් බලන්න මේ villi එක ඇතුලේ. Then these tiny ones are microvilli, but this is one big villi, right? Villi එක ඇතුලේ මොනවද තියෙන්නේ බලන්න. There are blood capillaries. මේ red color එකෙන් තියෙන්නේ red and blue colors දෙකෙන් තියෙන blood capillaries. Blood capillaries, sometimes blood capillaries we show in Red color sometimes we show in blue color. Ek ma israt explain karana hai kiya. So those are blood capillaries, right? So if there is any location with a lot of blood capillaries, we call it vascularized. So villi ඇතුලේ නේ එක villi එකක මේ වගේ blood capillaries තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේ there are a lot of villi now. So there are a lot of blood capillaries. That is why we say villi are highly vascularized. Why do we say they are highly vascularized? Because there are many blood capillaries. Is that clear to all of you? Make a චුට්ටක් ටිකක් challenging සමහරවිට එකපාරට understand කරන්න. That's why I'm constantly asking. So blood capillaries are not the only thing in the villi, right? මේ මැද තියෙනවා තව එකක්. එයා චුට්ටක් ඊටට fat එක කෙනෙක්. එයා blood capillary එකක් නෙවෙයි. එයා කියලා connect වෙන්නේ වෙනමම system එකකට. එයා connect වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම වෙන system එකකට. එයාට අපි කියනවා we call it lactea. We call it lactea. Okay, so inside a villi there are blood capillaries. There's also something called a lactea. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, let's go back to the note. So ඒකෙන් අපිට තේරෙනවා these are all adaptations of the small intestine to increase the efficiency of absorption. So long tube එකක්, circular folds, villi, microvilli, thin epithelial lining, highly vascularized, all of these help the small intestine to do the absorption very well. Okay, so let's see what are the digested end products absorbed into blood capillaries. Blood capillaries will absorb when a digested end products මොනවාද? Right, so again මේ villi වල see blue and red වලින් තියෙන blood capillaries නේ. So මොනවාද absorb වෙන්නේ? Proteins digest වුණාම එනවා amino acids, right? From protein digestion we have amino acids. So those amino acids will be absorbed into the blood capillaries from the small intestine. So the small කොහොමද එන්නේ? මේ දැන් small intestine එකනේ. So just හිතන්න මෙයා තමයි amino acid එක කියලා. Let's say this is the amino acid. Let me use a different color. Let's say this is the amino acid. මොකක්ද මේ amino acid එක කරන්නේ? එයා මුලින්ම මෙහෙ microvilli through. Now villi has a thin epithelial lining, right? Epithelial line එක thin නේ. ඒකින්ද එයාට ඒක through මෙහෙම යන්න පුළුවන්. ගිහිල්ලා blood capillaries through ගිහිල්ලා blood ඇතුළට යනවා. So blood ඇතුළෙන් එයා blood circulatory system එකට යනවා. So that's how amino acids are absorbed to the blood. So not just amino acids, we have vitamins, minerals, monosaccharides, that is glucose, fructose, galactose. All of these are absorbed from the small intestine, from inside the small intestine, through the villi to the blood capillaries. මේගොල්ලන් කෙලිම blood capillaries වලට තමයි absorb වෙන්නේ. හරිද? So those are absorbed to the blood capillaries. Is that clear? Right. Then let's see why there is this lacteal. Lacteal එකේ වැඩේ බලමු අපි. Give me a second. Now, from the digested products, amino acids, mineral salts, vitamins, monosaccharides, all of them were absorbed by the blood capillaries. But fatty acids and glycerol, blood capillaries වලින් absorb කරන්නේ නැහැ. Because lamai blood වල තියෙන ගොඩක්ම water නේ. Just imagine when you put water and coconut oil, do they get mixed well? Water and coconut oil, do they get mixed well? No. So just like that, fatty acids and glycerol are kind of like oily. Yeah, oil හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ. Lipids හැදෙන්නේ fatty acids and glycerol වලින්. So එතකොට ඒවා water එකක වැඩි dissolve වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So ඒකින්ද ඒවා blood capillaries වලට absorb වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So there needs to be a different structure to absorb fatty acids and glycerol. That different structure is lactea. එයා තමයි මෙන්න මෙතන මැද ඉන්නේ කෙනා. This is the lactea. මැද ඉන්නේ. This is the lactea. So lactea එකෙන් absorb කරන්නේ කවුද? Fatty acids and glycerol. They are first absorbed by the lactea. පස්සේ at a later stage they will join blood, but මුලින්ම absorb වෙන්නේ lactea එකට. Okay. Then when there is a high amount of glucose in blood, they are converted to glycogen and stored in liver. High amount of glucose in blood, they are converted to glycogen and stored in the liver. When the concentration of glucose is reduced, glycogen breaks down and forms glucose. So මේක ගැන අපි ඉස්සරහට in detail ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. ඒකින්ද මම ලොකුවට මේක කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ දැන් මෙතන. But let's say on a particular day you eat a lot of sugar, a lot of sweet food, sugary food. Then the amount of glucose in your blood spikes. ගොඩක් වැඩි වෙනවා. Normal level එකට වඩා ගොඩක් වැඩි වෙනවා. වැඩි වුණාම මොකද කරන්නේ? ඔයාගේ body එකෙන්, I mean your body needs a certain level of glucose obviously to produce energy. හැබැයි අච්චර ගොඩක් glucose ඕනේ නැහැ. එතකොට ඔයාගේ body එකෙන් මොකද කරන්නේ? අර excess glucose ටික ඕනම මේ diagram එක උගන්න අඳ ගන්න පුළුවන් නා. Excess glucose ටික glycogen වලට convert කරලා that will be stored in the liver. එතකොට ඔයගලන්ගේ body එකේ glucose level එක ආයෙ control වෙනවා. Why? Extra glucose will be converted to glycogen, no? එතකොට glucose level එක අඩු වෙනවා. So that's a very good thing, no? And that glycogen will be stored in the liver. Okay. And then හිතන්න තව දවසක ඔයගලන් වැඩි කන්නේ නැහැ. එදා දැන් ඔයගලන්ගේ body එකේ glucose level එක අඩුයි. එතකොට body එකට මතක් වෙනවා එදා මම extra glucose glycogen විදිහට store කරානේ කියලා එයා අර store කරලා තිබ්බ glycogen ටික glucose විදිහට ආයෙ convert කරනවා. දැන් ඔයාගේ body එකට ඕනේ glucose ටික හම්බ වෙනවා. Just like for an example, let's say අපි තුමු ඔයගලන්ගේ මොකද අපි example එකක් විදිහට ගන්න. So let's say මාරි වත්තේ හැදෙන fruit එකක් හරි මොකක් හරි කියලා, let's say mango. So you on a particular day you have a lot of mango, right? So you pluck all the mangoes and you consume whatever you can, and the rest of it you keep. On a different day, let's say you don't have any mango, then you're going to consume whatever the mango that you stored, something like that, right? And also තවනික example එකක් විදිහට ගත්තොත් එහෙම ගොඩක් ඒ කාලේ කෑම තිබ්බා දැනුත් එහෙම තමයි seasonal. Now for an example දැන් හිතන්න example එකක් විදිහට අපි ගමු. Let's say a particular there's a okay අපි ගමු chocolate, because I told you there's a chocolate factory that we have here, right? So chocolate is made from cocoa. So cocoa is not grown throughout the year. There are only certain seasons. So during the seasons when cocoa is grown, we have to get a lot of cocoa and we have to keep it in stock. Then in certain other seasons, there is no cocoa grown. It's going to store something like that. Okay. So the same thing, our body does it naturally. Okay. So that is why we say human body is very sophisticated and very like nicely designed. So make a naturally body even. Up to that point, you all have any questions?
No, teacher.
All right. Everything clear, others? Give me a thumbs up. Insulin kiyanne, okay, good question. Again, something that we will be talking a little later. But since you asked, මේ excess glucose ටික glycogen වලට convert කරන එක්කෙනාට තමයි අපි insulin කියලා කියන්නේ. Insulin is not an enzyme actually, it's a hormone. Insulin is a hormone, it converts excess glucose to glycogen. That's insulin. Insulin නැති කට්ටියගේ excess glucose glycogen වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ diabetes හැදෙනවා. All right? Okay. So large intestine. If you take large intestine, it is about 1.5 meters long. So, thankfully or not, it's not as long as a small intestine. Now, the small intestine is 7 meters long. So, large intestine is, of course, not that long. It's about 1.5 meters long, right? So, එතකොට අපි diagram එකක් ගමු ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපි කතා කරපු up here, see? මෙන්න මේ diagram එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම මෙතනින් මෙන්න මෙහෙම වටේට මේ තියෙන්නේ large intestine එක. Until the rectum and anus. So, let's go back to the note. Now, ළමයි දැන් ඔයගලන්ට මම නිකන් පොඩියට structure එක ඇඳලා පෙන්නුවොත් we know this is a stomach, right? Stomach එකෙන් මෙහෙම duodenum එක තියෙනවා. So duodenum එකෙන් පස්සේ we have the small intestine like this, all entangled 7 meters of small intestine where digestion happens, absorption happens and all that. ඊළඟට small intestine එක මෙන්න මෙතනින් end වෙනවා. Then තමයි අපේ large intestine එක start කරන්නේ. Large intestine starts here. This. Small intestine. Now this is all small intestine. So large intestine එක අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන මහා බඩවැල කියලා. This is a large intestine. It goes around the small intestine like this. Not like a perfect square like this, but something similar to this. And then මෙහෙම ඇවිල්ලා මෙන්න මෙහෙම තියෙනවා. And then මෙන්න මෙහෙම තියෙනවා. So this is where the opening is. Okay. This is the large intestine. Simply said, ඔහොම තමයි large intestine එක තියෙන්නේ. It's 1.5 meters long. So this says it starts at cecum. Starts at cecum and ends with anus. So මේක පටන් ගන්න තැන ඔයගලන්ගේ මූලම diagram එකක් තියෙන එකෙන් බලන්න පුළුවන්. මෙන්න මේ හරියට අපි කියනවා cecum කියලා. I think a few weeks and last week කවුරු මගෙන් අහුව cecum ගැන මිහිරේද කොහෙදනේ? You asked about the cecum. I'll tell you about the appendix. So this is the cecum. And then ඉවර වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මෙතන තියෙනවා rectum එක. Rectum is where, sorry, this is the rectum. Rectum is where the feces is stored. And when we are removing feces, we remove through the anus. Anus is the opening. All right. So materials entering consist very small amount of nutrients, mostly undigested cellulose and water. Why are the materials entering the large intestine containing very small amount of nutrients? I ඔක්කොම ටික small intestine එකේ absorb වුණානේ. දැන් අතරම nutrients නැති තමයි. But cellulose is there because you know අපි grade 10 වල first lesson එක ඉගෙන ගත්ත polysaccharides වල we talked about cellulose. We said cellulose cannot be digested by the human body. But if you take cows, deer, elephants, they are herbivores. Herbivores na godak kola kanawane. So kola wala tino godak cellulose. So they can digest cellulose, but we cannot. So all the undigested cellulose and a lot of water is there in the materials entering the large intestine. At the end of the cecum is the appendix. It is small in humans, and when it gets infected and becomes swollen, it causes appendicitis. Appendix कहना मैंने में छोटी एक कहना. So I'm pretty sure you have heard of appendix quite a few times. So Tinura asked, what is the use of appendix? That's a good question. Does anybody know what the use of appendix is? Based on maybe, okay, based on maybe what you have heard, or maybe සමහර ඔයගලන්ගෙත් කට්ටියට appendicitis හදිච්ච කට්ටිය, or maybe your friend.
I have heard, like, I don't know what's the use of it, but I have heard, like, most of them have got appendix.
It stores fingernails or something. Okay. Others, what do you think? Actually, appendicitis වල sorry, appendicitis නෙමෙයි, appendix වල function එක, appendix is this little pouch, එකෙන් පොඩි pocket එකක් වගේ. So appendix එකේ function එක ඇත්තටම fingernails store කරන එක නෙවෙයි. Fingernails or whatever අපි ඒ වගේ කැලි store කරන එක නෙවෙයි. Appendix has a different function. එයාගේ function එක තමයි එයා ඔක්කොම, I told you, right? In the small intestine, even in the large intestine, there's a lot of like good bacteria. අපි ඒකට කියනවා gut microbiome කියලා, because it's an entire population of bacteria. It's like an ecosystem. So එතකොට ඔය ඔක්කොම good bacteria ටික store කරන්නේ appendix එකේ. So it's like this, හිතන්න for an example, හිතනවාට මොකක් ලෙඩක් හැදුනා කියලා, අපි ගමු නිකන් diarrhea කියලා. So diarrhea වලදී ඔයගේ මුළු intestines ඔක්කොම wash out වෙනවා, because diarrhea is associated with loose motion. So sometimes all the digested, undigested ඔක්කොම ඒවා anus එකෙන් යනවා. එතකොට තනකට වගේ හොඳ good bacteria ටිකක් තියනවා diarrhea වලදී. එතකොට මේ good bacteria loose වුණාට පස්සේ ආයෙමත් intestines වල good bacteria ටික ලස්සනට, ඒ කියන්නේ arrange කරලා ඒ ටික ඔක්කොම කරන්න appendix එකෙන්, because it stores no. So our diarrhea වලින් wash out වෙච්ච good bacteria ටික ආයෙමත් small intestine එකේ recolonize කරනවා appendix එකෙන්. So actually that is the main use of appendix. ඊට අමතරව that is also involved in immunity. Immunity කියන්නේ just protecting your body. Immunity function එකකුත් තියෙන appendix එකට. හැබැයි ඇත්තටම appendix කියන්නේ එච්චර important organ එකක් නෙවෙයි. Because actually in even now and maybe in the future generations also, appendix කියලා කියන්නේ evolution වලදී නැති වෙලා යන organ එකක්. Because appendix එකට එච්චර ලොකු function එකකුත් නැහැ, and we can very well survive without the appendix. Sometimes having the appendix is the problem. Why? So let's say ඔයගොල්ලෝ නියපොතු කනවා හරි, ඔය සමහරවට එක එක කෑම කනකොට එහෙම පොතු එහෙම කෑමවල පොතු යනවා. ඒ ඉස්සෝන්ගේ පොතු අර වගේ වගේ appendix එකේ store වෙනවා. Right? So because දැන් මෙහෙම small intestine එකේ large intestine එකේදී ওই pouch එකට වැටෙනවා. So these will be stored in the appendix. Then what happens is that when they are stored for a long time, it gets inflamed. And all like they were like store vela and irritate vela, inflame vela. Inflame වුණාම තමයි appendicitis හැදෙන්නේ. So you know there will be a lot of pain and like තව ගොඩක් තියෙනවා nauseous වගේ හැදෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ කන්න බැරි වෙනවා. අර ඒ වගේ symptoms වලින් ගොඩක් මාර ලොකු pain එකක් එනවා. Because one of my cousins had appendicitis and she did the surgery. The surgery is called appendectomy or something like that, where they remove the appendix. The appendix එක නැතුව ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. It's actually not that important. So මම ඒක අහුවේ ඔයගලගේ question එක, because appendicitis is quite a common disease. So I assume that some of you might know, but I see that you all know about the fingernails and so that's good enough. But I think now you got a better understanding about what the appendix is. Okay. So, okay, then what is the main function of the large intestine? Large intestine එක main function එක absorbing water from the matter it receives. Why is this important? Because lamai then small intestine එකෙන් එන ඒවා වල මුකුත් nutrients නැහැ, but there's a lot of water. ඒ ටික කෙලින්ම anus එකෙන් release කරොත් it will be very like watery, and that is very inconvenient, right? So imagine what defecate කරන්න යනකොට it's all like liquidy, very watery. You can like diarrhea වගේ හැමලේම වුණොත් එහෙම it's very inconvenient, right? Loose motion වගේ හැමලේම වුණොත් that is super inconvenient. So ඒක එහෙම නොවෙන්න තමයි large intestine එකේ function එකක් තියෙන්නේ. It absorbs the water. And also ළමයි inconvenient කතාව විතරක් නෙවෙයි. So if all this water goes through the anus, like how usually loose motion වල වෙනවා වගේ හැමලේම වුණොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? body එකේ තියෙන water ගොඩක් නැති වෙනවා. Because water in the body is lost, right? So that එතකොට අපිට dehydration වෙනවා. So එහෙම වෙන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ body එකේ. So our water ටික important නේ. So all that most of that water will be absorbed back to the body. එතකොට our remaining material වල water ටික body එකෙන් absorb කරාට පස්සේ now initially it was very watery, very liquidy. But when all the water is absorbed by the large intestine, water absorb කරන්න make a semi-solid වෙනවා. Okay? Semi-solid. So the feces become semi-solid. When water is absorbed, it becomes semi-solid. Then it is called fecal matter. Then this fecal matter will be released out from the rectum. ගොඩක් වෙලාවට when you have a lot of, if there is too much water, it will show you, when there's too much water means you consumed a lot of water, right? So when you consumed a lot of water, it will show in two things. You will pass more urine, and yes, your fecal matter will be more watery, but like not like loose motion wage water in a way, but it won't be as semi-solid. But yes, it will show in both fecal matter and urine when you have a lot of water in your body. So yes, then why is, so generally your fecal matter is supposed to be a light brown / yellow කිව්වට yellow නෑ, okay, because ඔක්කොම undigested ඒවායි ඔක්කොම උනාට පස්සේ okay color එක වෙනස් වෙනවා. So it will be like a brown color. Healthy කෙනෙක් නම් it has to be a brown color, like it's a color ගැන කියන්න ඕනේ, but light brown, something like that. So anyways, ඇයි මේ color එක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ? Because of bile pigments. ළමයි bile වල there were bile pigments, bile salts, bicarbonate ions and water. And bile pigments have a color. ඒවත් මේකේ නේද? So bile pigments have this yellow color. That is why feces gets this characteristic color. What is present in the fecal matter? Undigested food, digest කරපු නැති ඉතුරු වෙච්ච ඔක්කොම ටික, තව මොන හරි microorganisms එනවා නම් ඒවා, epithelial cells කියන්නේ stomach wall එකේ ඔය එක එක cells ගැලවිලා ආවා නම්, small intestine එකේ cells ගැලවිලා එනවා, large intestine එකේ cells ගැලවිලා එනවා, esophagus එකේ epithelial cells ගැලවිලා එනවා. So all those පොඩි cells ගැලවිලා එනවත් යනවා. Mucus අපි දැන් normally කියන්නේ mucus කියලා අපේ nose and buccal cavity එකේ තියෙනවානේ. But mucus is there everywhere. Stomach එකේ තියෙනවා, small intestine හැම තැනම තියෙනවා mucus. So extra mucus උත් ඔහොමම එනවා. So that will also be removed. So that is the end of digestion. Also lamai, FYI, I will not be doing diseases during the class. because diseases part is super simple. When make you have to self read and make a short note by next week. This is homework. Next week class එක පටන් ගන්න වෙලාව වෙද්දි මට WhatsApp එකේ හැමෝගෙම short notes ටික ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Right, 7 p.m. next week 7 p.m. is your deadline. I mean, okay, so there's gastritis, තමුණන් තිබ්බේ diarrhea, ඊට පස්සේ typhoid තිබ්බනේ. So all these diseases, they're actually like you can read and understand. So ඒකද මං class එක මෙච්චර දැන් for like I think 4 batches I have not been doing diseases. ඉතින් ඕගලන් self read කරලා short note එක හදලා 7 next week 7 p.m. වෙද්දි you have to submit that. But what I will do is, although I will not do the diseases part during the class, if you all have any questions, make a list of those questions and you can ask me during the next week's class. Diseases වල මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආවා නම් ඒක මගේ next week අහන්න. හැබැයි diseases one by one මම class එකේ කරන්නේ නැහැ because it's not that difficult. Okay? So ඒක read කරලා short note එක හදලා මට එවලා තියන්න before next week's class. එක හෙට කරත් කමක් නැහැ අනිද්දා කරත් කමක් නැහැ. But deadline is 30th 7 p.m. Okay? So I just saw that I have missed some questions. In the duodenum, same thing happens, but with trypsin. Yes. Gut flora කියන්නේ අරගොල්ලම තමයි. I told you, right? Gut microbiome කියලා කියනවා කියන්නේ gut එකේ, that means small intestine or stomach වල ඉන්න bacterial population එක. It's like an entire population there, a little ecosystem. So එතකොට ඒකට අපි කියනවා එකක් gut microbiome කියලා. We also call it gut flora. So that is gut flora. I think with that we will end the digestive system. Next week we will finish respiratory system because digestive system is a little long. And also biological processes will first system digestive system. So that's why it takes some time. But respiratory system is anyways quite small. Excretory system is also small. අපි බලමු next week excretory system ඉවර කරන්න බැරි වෙයි අපිට but ගොඩක් දුරට අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි. Okay? Yeah. So as I said, while apologizing for next week's class, for holding next week's class, we will be having the class. If you want it finish a little early or start a little late, we could do some arrangement, just letting you know. Because I need to give you time if you would like to go to Dansal and all. But if you are okay with doing the full class, again, I'm open for that also. මොකද 6 වෙනිදා ජූනි 6 වෙනිදා class එක කරන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ මට. ඒතකොට ඒකත් මම ආයෙ මතක් කරනවා. අනිත් එක, before we end the class, another thing that I want to inform you is, okay, did all of you get the WhatsApp message from the LMS? Class link එක ආවද WhatsApp එකේ හැමෝටම? එහෙම ආවේ නැත්තම් මිස් දිව්‍යාට දාලා තියන්න. මොකද මම ඔයගලන්ට කිව්වනේ LMS එකෙන් link එක personally හැමෝටම කියන්නේ වෙන වෙනම generate වෙන හේතුව for security reasons, privacy reasons and all that, and also I want to properly establish the LMS. මම මේක grade 10 ළමයිටත් කිව්වා. LMS, because initially it was just me. I was the one who was managing all the classes while doing everything else, but then it became a lot of work for me. That's why now I hired Miss Divya. So she's managing everything. But ekat amaru lamai වැඩි වෙනකොට. So LMS is a very better platform. So as I said, when the technology is improving, we also have to adapt accordingly. So I want you to help me build the LMS, to develop the LMS. මොනා හරි issues තියනවා නම් ඒ ටික ඔක්කොම මිස් දිව්‍යාට කියන්න. Then she can forward it to the developer so that he can work on it, right? Okay, so I think that's all. Let's wrap up. Let's see each other next week, lamai. Have a great week. Good night.